Hello, beautiful light beings. Shannon O'Flaherty here, and I'm answering Becky's question about fighting with your family to gain their love and respect. I think that's the question I'm asking. It was a long paragraph, and she wanted me to find the question in it, so that's what I've come up with. I think it's a very real subject. I hear you all talking about this in the group, that you don't understand why your parents and other family members would choose an ex-partner or somebody else over you, why you felt either excommunicated from your family or pushed away, or why your kids are blocking you from seeing your grandchildren, and all of the other assorted, interesting family dynamics that happen. I don't really know of too many families that are not dysfunctional in some way, shape, or form. Excuse me, I'm just hearing things dinging again. I thought for sure I did put this on airplane mode. Okay, well, I don't know. Technology, still not my forte. Okay, so you're fighting for your family's love and respect. Well, here's the thing. Deep down in the soul of everyone, your family wants to get along. Your parents want to love you and want to express and show their love. Your siblings want to love you and want to show and express their love. But a lot of people don't know how. They don't know how to do that. Our parents never learned properly how to love. They didn't know how to love themselves because their parents didn't know how to love themselves. And this is passed on generationally. We also incarnate in groups, and often the same family group will incarnate in different relationships, especially if there's some unfinished business that you still need to find a way through, a deeper reason. I think I was very lucky this time around with marrying Bobby Baby. He and I have definitely been twin brothers, not just once, but twice, fighting in wars in Morocco. And it's quite amazing that he and I didn't have twin boys, although our boys are very close in age. And Bob and I, our higher purpose, even he said this once, speaking my kind of language, was really that we were meant to come together and have our children so that we could heal those kind of wounds within us as brothers. When Forrest, my eldest son, was about 9, I think, 9 or 10, we discovered that he had been my father, probably in the most recent lifetime, because it was always 20 questions if I was going out. You know, where are you going? What are you wearing? What time will you be back? And I thought, what, are you my father? And then I thought, oh yeah, maybe he was. And my own father, he and I and both of my children have been lovers before. Don't be all freaked out. And I told my dad this once, and I was like, don't get grossed out, Dad. He's like, no, I get it. And most of us have had other relationships with the people in our families in past lives. I had these clients come to me, and he was a very successful businessman in this lifetime. And he had been with a woman, I think they were married, and he lost all of his money in relationship with her. Let's see. There we go. Okay. And he didn't know why he could just never gain this money back. He loved her, but it just seemed that ever since she came into his life, he could never be successful again. And they both came to me for healing sessions separately from each other and told me the stories. And it was really quite fascinating, because what I found out was that in a past life, he had been an angry shopkeeper a mean shopkeeper, and she had been working for him, and he was really cruel to her all the time. And so she, in that lifetime, she wasn't a she was a poor young boy working for this shopkeeper guy in another country. And she burned his shop down. And that karma needed to be healed, or maybe it was the other way around. I can't exactly remember, but anyway, they both needed to come back together so that they could heal this past life karma and learn to love each other. But there was a lot of financial issues between the two of them, so that was quite interesting. So maybe you're in relationship with your parents, and in another lifetime you were best friends that fell out. There can be all sorts of karmic reasons. Hi, Danielle. Hi, Becky. Thanks for joining me. There can be all sorts of karmic reasons, but all of that stuff, past life stuff, doesn't really matter. What matters is how it's affecting this life. And if you are awake enough to realize that love is the answer, and that you want to be in alignment, and that you understand that forgiveness is everything, and that you want to have close, lovely relationships with everyone, and wake up with in a place of gratitude every day, I'm afraid it's up to you to rise up. And you can keep chipping away at it. My mother used to get so pissed off with me because I would bring up Dad every time, because she was really bitter right until the end. And she'd say, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to talk about this. And I'd say, okay, let's talk about it. And she would just get really angry and scream at me, projecting her anger at me. And I would just sit there and take it, because I knew that I was helping my mother release her frustration and anger and beliefs around her own frustration and bitterness. And my sister and I mean, we are from different planets, but we had an agreement many years ago to disagree, that we can agree to disagree, because we understand that our sisterhood and our family relationship is more important than any kind of differing opinions. And so if we're having a conversation that's getting uneasy or difficult, one time she just said, I really don't think we should talk about this. So for me, that's crazy. Why wouldn't you talk about it? Well, let's put it all on the table and discuss this. But no, I said, so what? You want to just brush this under the carpet and pretend that we're not having this conflict? And she said, yep, that's what I want to do. And I thought, okay. And if that's what I need to do to keep the peace with my sister, who I love, then isn't that worth doing it? Yeah. So you have a question to ask yourself here. Do you want to stay in a place of judgment? No. Do you want to stay in a place of conflict with your parents, with your kids, with your siblings, with anybody? No. Is it more important for you to be right and to express your opinion than just to allow them to be who they're going to be? No. And when they throw their abuse at you, I'm not talking about my sister now, she never throws abuse at me, but if your family is throwing their abuse at you, or criticisms or whatever, if it's causing you pain, you've got to look at that shadow part of yourself. If you think, wow, that's a bit harsh, and you can just realize that that's their own stuff that they're projecting at you, okay, it's unfair, but you don't need to take it personally or to heart. If you're taking something personally and to heart and it's wounding you, that's because that's an unhealed place in yourself. I know you're not liking this answer, but that's how it is. And so when you start to just separate yourself from your parents' stuff, from your kids' stuff, and realize, like, okay, well, that's their stuff. That's their life, their choice. And allow yourself to be in your space, because a lot of people don't know where their energy ends and somebody else's energy begins. So right there in the title, Fighting for Love and Respect, let go of the fight. Let go of the fight. You know, when my mom would start in on me, accusing me of whatever, if I took it personally, I thought, okay, that's a piece of work for me to do. And I would just seek space so that we wouldn't have a huge row. But if I realized, like, wow, God, she's really completely like lost the plot here. That's not my stuff. I would just laugh, which didn't usually help the matter because that would frustrate her. But I thought, no, you know, Mom, look, that's your stuff. If you want to stay angry like that about me for something that you're feeling, that's your stuff. That's not me. That's not mine. And I had examples all the time. I always had examples for her. So if you know that you're going into an arena with your family, have examples, but also it's your tone. So if you go in there defensive, all like ready for the fight, that's what you're going to get. So I would go there loving. And maybe once I was there not even an hour, and my mother started on the criticisms, and I just thought, wow. And I said to her, just like this, in this tone, I was like, Mom, you know what? I haven't even been here an hour, and you're already criticizing me. Well, I'm not criticizing you. That's just girl talk. And I said, well, no, that's not how I have any girl talk with any of my girlfriends, Mom. That's you expressing your opinion in a judgmental way and putting it on me to manipulate me. And that's not cool. And I showed her the difference of the way that she was saying things. And she didn't like that, but she realized, and then she changed. And then I stopped telling her stuff. And she said, you used to tell me all these great stories, and now you're not telling me stuff. And I said, I'm not telling you stuff because when I tell you stuff, you turn it all around and you throw it back on me in a twisted sort of way. And so it's not really worth it for me to do that, Mom. Like, really straightforward, no defensiveness. I didn't say, well, the reason why I'm not telling you this is no. Because like tone is everything. I would just simply tell her calmly why I wasn't doing that anymore. And then she'd say, okay, I promise I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. And then I'd tell her something. And then in her process of twisting things around and throwing it right back on me, I'd say, well, Mom, you know what I just said? Look at what you're doing right now. And she's just like, oh my God, I am doing that, aren't I? I was like, yeah, afraid so. And that doesn't really work for me. So, okay, I won't do it anymore. It took a little practice. But, you know, having a loving relationship with my mother was really, really important to me. Not just for the fact so that I wouldn't have to come back and do it all over again with her in another kind of relationship with a woman. I wanted to clear it up this time because I think having a good relationship with your mother is essential for every being on the planet. I really do. And I think that while your parents are alive, it's about the most important relationship that you could go and heal in whatever possible way you can. I understand sometimes it's past that point. And if that's the case, you need to make your own peace with it internally and not keep playing around this tape of being wounded. Because if your parents aren't willing to go there with you, or your children, or whoever it is, let go of the control. Because your place of feeling wounded is because you're choosing to stay wounded. And if you're choosing to stay wounded, you're choosing to stay the victim. I know it's not the answer that you want to hear, but if you know this stuff, then it's up to you to rise above it. One of my teachers said, oh, stop bitching, everybody, about, oh, well, I have to heal all my friends. Now that I'm a healer, everybody comes to me for healing. And she said, well, yeah, heal your friends because you don't want to hang out with people who aren't healed anyway. I thought, well, yeah, that's the point there. And we get into poor me. Well, let go of that. Just let go. Let go of that. Choose the better feeling. Choose the better feeling. And if your parents and your children and everybody else is having drama, look at it for what it is. It's their drama. It's not yours. You don't need to take it on your shoulders. You just keep doing your work. You be loving. You stay in alignment. You be kind. You be forgiving. You be grateful. You love yourself. You celebrate every moment. And look for the humor in your family. I mean, they usually are the most entertaining people in our lives, if you can twist that around. Now, what have you said here, Danielle? Grace is giving someone what they do not deserve. Give others grace you would want for yourself. Yeah, well, everybody deserves grace because people are stuck because they haven't had the healing and the holding and the loving and the respect and the honor and all of that good stuff that they needed when they were children. And their parents didn't have it when they were children. And this goes on and on through the ages. So if you can just look at a 3-year-old child and how innocent and beautiful they are, well, you got to look at your parents the same way. And none of us really grow up from the childhood wounding unless you're going to actively work on it and decide to choose joy. People get stuck in all sorts of dilemmas that they don't even realize they have. And I mean, it's amazing that we all can make it to adulthood in the first place and go through life and be relatively sane and successful without freaking out about everything. But really, it is just a practice of staying in alignment and leaving other people's stuff with them. If it's stirring up your stuff, it's because you've got to look at that shadow piece, and it might not reflect in the same way. It might be a different piece of shadow that's showing up, or it could be something that you just feel is unfair because you know that that's absolutely not your stuff, because you know you've healed it, and they're projecting their stuff onto you and twisting things around. I had that talk about narcissism. That's what happens there. That can be extremely frustrating. But when you're in alignment and secure with who you are, you'll realize, hold on a minute, this is not in balance. This is something that I need to leave or heal if the person's willing to heal. So families are tricky, but we choose them. When you're a little baby soul coming down, you think, yeah, I'm going to choose this family, either for all of the wonderful, loving reasons or to learn all of the things that you need to learn. Okay? You choose your family. So make the most of your family because it's the only one you've got in this lifetime. They say blood is thicker than water and all of that. I don't really care about that, but I think your parents deserve grace because they raised you. Maybe they didn't. Maybe you're raised by a grandmother, whoever raised you. And if your parents gave you up, well, they probably had really good reason for that back then. People don't just abandon babies, you know? So whatever is going on in your family drama, if you can take yourself out of it for a moment and just step back and look at your parents and go back to their childhood, their story. You know, my mother was born in the war, and they had blackouts, and they were all living in fear and poverty, and it was a completely different time in the world. And so if you think about all of the belief systems that we take on as a culture, also depending on what's going on in the world or where they're being raised or what their family situation is. You know, my mother had an alcoholic father as well, who wasn't always present, but sometimes he was, and a mother who worked all the time. So she and her sister were left to sort of raise their younger brother when they were little kids. Now, she had a lot of other stuff going on. she had a lot of feelings to contend with. And in working deeply with my mother, I found out about her true wounding and about her truth. And so, if your parents are available, I would highly suggest finding out, what was it like when you were a kid? How did you feel? What was going on? What were your parents doing? What was the dynamic in your family? Because every family has a base level, a familial base level of the wounding in the family. Hi, Sharon. Let's see what this is. We hear a lot about having healthy boundaries. However, having them and implementing them without guilt or feeling like you need to explain yourself is tough. It's an important part of healing too. Yeah, well, guilt, that's a choice. That was another Facebook Live, so do have a look at that one. Yes, it's a practice. I'm not saying that all of this is really easy, that you decide one day and then it's just smooth sailing. No, it is a practice. How important is it to you to heal your stuff? How important is it to you to feel wonderful every day? So if your family's baseline is sadness and anger, then those are going to be your likely default modes. If your family's baseline is shame and frustration, even though frustration is not really base, but there can be different levels of where you're going to go back to all of the time. I will do a Facebook Live soon about shame, because that's really staying stuck in a place of secrets. I'll get into that a little bit down the road. I have all of these other topics to talk about first. So implementing your higher knowledge is where the work comes in, because you want to have clear relationships with everyone. And if you can't work with your family personally, or they've passed on, you can go on up there and connect to their higher selves and have a conversation in the ethers with their higher selves, and send them love, and send them understanding, and send them forgiveness. And ask to understand what that feels like, to receive it from them too. And practice those feelings, because energy is energy. It's timeless and it's spaceless. So if you can't connect to your family in the flesh, then do the energy work, because it works. It works. I've sent healing and praying. I do actually get permission to work from a distance. But I've sent lots of healing and lots of prayers to a lot of people, sometimes just speaking to their higher self when I know I wouldn't have permission from the person, because I want to heal the energy, especially if it's anything related to do with me, because I want to have clear, easy relationships with everyone. Yeah. So, look at what you need to do. I mean, it's kind of fun with my son Forrest, who's now an admin in this group. When he was about 16, I think, he was late for a cricket game. He wasn't really late, but he really wanted to get there, and we had some errands to run first. And I was just playing a little bit, because the kids always used to make me wait. They could never just get out of the house on time. So I knew that he was sort of rushing, even though I also knew we had plenty of time to do everything we needed to do. And I was taking my time on purpose, just to annoy him, in a playful sort of way. And he knew what I was doing, so he wasn't saying anything. And I'm just like, oh, could you just, we're in the car. What are you doing now? Oh, well, I just want to put my lipstick on. Man. Oh, could you just hand me those figs over there? I think, slow releasing sugars. I said, darling, you were my parent in a previous life. And he said, yes, and we had the most problems with you. Have fun with it too. Have fun with your kids, have fun with your parents, have fun with your siblings. even if you're not actually having an exchange of fun with the person in your mind. Find the humor in the situation because it'll help you. It will help you deal with your parents' drama, with your siblings' drama, with your kids' drama, while you're staying in alignment. And when they're annoying you, bite your tongue, go up and connect and think, yeah, I've got this, and just send them love and understanding in the minute, and learn to be quiet. Don't speak when you know it's not going to make any difference except cause more conflict. That is simple. That's a choice. And you don't need to explain yourself. Trust me, I've tried for years. Not worth it. Not worth it. If your family isn't willing to hear you, that's fine. You're going to be heard by plenty of other people. You just need to make peace with that yourself. All the work comes down to you. So that might not be the answer you all wanted to hear this morning about finding love and respect from your family. But if you find love and respect for yourself and learn to stay in alignment regardless of what your family is throwing at you, and you make peace regardless of what your family is doing, then you're the one who's winning all the time. So that's it for me today, and I love you all, and I'll see you in the next video.